1990s, Sonic's movement in his Genesis games was something to marvel at, and not something any other game could really reproduce faithfully. For a time, even Sega seemed to have forgotten how to implement Sonic's physics the way that Sonic had them back in his original Genesis outings, with the last game to use anything close to classic Sonic physics for some time being the Sonic Advance series. These physics were and remain pretty important to get right for die-hard classic Sonic fans, and fans campaigned for a long time to have them reintroduced into the series. Fortunately today, how to implement Sonic physics in that classic Genesis Mega Drive style has been preserved, largely thanks to the work of one person, Devin Reeves, aka Mercury Silver. Mercury took the time to meticulously document Sonic's classic physics on the Sonic Retro Wiki way back in the year of 2009. Thanks to his efforts, fan games were able to implement accurate Sonic physics to the point where most of them feel pretty much like those earliest Sonic games nowadays. We don't want to take anything away from other early Sonic physics experts like Christian Whitehead, Simon Tomley, or Damnesian, or even Lapper, who took Mercury's initial physics guide and expanded it greatly. But Mercury was the guy who first put pen to paper and documented the inner workings for everyone to use. Anyway, let's look at how the physics work and maybe discover what makes them so special. In classic Sonic games, movement is organized into 4 main floor modes, which tell the game engine whether Sonic is running on a floor, wall, or ceiling. These modes allow the game to adjust Sonic's ground speed and other forces based on Sonic's orientation to the ground. In floor mode, Sonic moves normally along a flat or sloped surface. The game applies friction, acceleration, deceleration, and a slope factor, all added to the current ground speed and converted through a bit of math to Cartesian coordinates, or X and Y coordinates, to give Sonic his next position on the ground. When airborne, gravity pushes Sonic until he contacts the floor using collision lines, which check for ground below Sonic and trigger a landing when a point collides with the floor. These collision lines position themselves in sync with the current ground mode, rotating based on the direction of the ground mode. In floor mode, when Sonic is walking normally, these collision lines point down to detect the ground below Sonic. When Sonic runs up the side of a loop, Sonic enters wall mode. Here the game rotates the ground detection lines, which can be thought of as raycasts, sideways to help Sonic stick to the wall. In wall mode, ground detection will be to the left or right of Sonic dependent on if he's running up a wall to the right or to the left. When I code movement like this, I typically split up the left and right wall modes just to make it a bit easier to tell which wall Sonic is currently on, but I'm hardly an expert. Ceiling mode works similarly. When Sonic reaches the top of a loop, ground detection flips so that the lines or raycasts detect the ground above the player, since he is walking upside down. In ceiling or wall mode, Sonic must maintain a certain amount of speed to continue in this mode. If the speed reaches below a set threshold, we'll call it the fall threshold, Sonic falls. Or simply put, when Sonic can't maintain his speed on a wall or ceiling, he drops off the wall or ceiling and falls back to the floor. Shifting between these ground modes is how Sonic runs around loops. Running and walking are implemented through careful control of Sonic's acceleration and speed limits. Starting from a standstill, Sonic has a low acceleration, which makes him easy to control at low speeds. Once Sonic reaches a certain speed threshold, his acceleration increases, allowing him to reach top speed quickly. At top speed, Sonic can keep moving forward with very little friction slowing him down, allowing for long, fluid runs through the game's environments. This balance between controlled walking, smooth acceleration, and high-speed running is key to Sonic's signature gameplay feel. If the player presses the opposite direction, Sonic decelerates much quicker, which allows him to respond quickly to player inputs even at high speed. I am Overbound, creator of GameFAQs Special, developer behind the fan game Sonic Time Twisted, and currently working on my next game, No More Robots. Thanks to our channel members, Maximus Metal, Spitfire, and Sans. This has been a GameFAQs Special.